Hello? Um, so if I'm using if I'm using OBS, does it just record my screen? Record my screen? Can you hear me? 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 Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
So you're at this event, and we got three of us, and then the one person. So someone to build a wall, and everyone faces the basement, and everyone's going around saying, "Come on, time off." So is building a wall one of the main reasons for the races? And what do you call this? Long before President elect Donald Trump of a wall along the southern border, barriers actually started building up a decade ago. President George W. Bush signed the Secure Fence Act in 2006. So for argument's sake, if conservation wants to build a wall, then George Bush and Hillary Clinton are racist, wanting to build that fence back in 2006. What I find funny is that Trump wants to finish what Hillary started, yet he gets all the back, but Hillary gets back. If everyone has the stupid social that social care straight it out, still immigrants are on top of the fucking wall there. Yeah, as if they
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Hi, I think we're actually live streaming now.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Can the people in the chat hear us okay?
Is there anyone in the chat?
Yeah, we have one person in the chat. So
Oh,
can
okay.
the person in the chat... Oh, I think they left. We have no one in the chat right now.
Okay.
So,
Huh.
I think we actually are live right now.
Oh, okay. And
All right, I think so. That's what everything's telling me. Can you hear me? Oh, shoot. For some reason it's like on this weird loop where the first things I said are like repeating.
the stream will have like at least a 6 to 10 second lag from live, so it's not like live. There's always like a hiccup to because if, for instance, if you're playing a game and people watch you play a game live stream, if they can see where you are, they can cheat and kill you. So that's why they put a delay on streams
Okay.
So it's just kind of like a network blanket of anything that's.
All
So
right.
if it's like that information repeats in your left ear or whatever, the stream's working. It's supposed to do that.
Okay, like I said, I've never live streamed before on my computer, so hoping
100% okay.
I'm hoping I'm not screwing things up too much. This is very unprofessional, but at least I only have like 100 some subscribers, so
Hey man, we that's how we all learn, right? We had to make mistakes to better ourselves, so it's fine. It's like
I'm
how I go on.
I was just saying maybe if this stream is any good, I'll just cut off the beginning of it because I know some people do that.
Yeah, you cut off.
Oh, you didn't hear me?
You said maybe if
Hello.
a stream and then it kind of cut.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Hi.
Mike ATS cut.
I think we're actually
When you were
live
saying?
streaming now.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Is there a way to not
the people
hear
in the
what's
chat hear us
going
okay?
on with the live stream because it's throwing me off?
I guess you could mute the tab. Is there anyone in the chat?
Yeah, we have one person in the chat.
Like right clicking on the tab itself and then
So
mute
can
that
the
tab.
person in the chat. Oh, I think they
Just
left.
kind of have it open so you could see comments if people are watching.
All right.
Because trust me, I know it throws me off when I was helping my friend set up his Twitch. It's like, is it running? I'm like, yeah. It's like, oh man, it's weird to hear the layers.
Yeah, I think that would be too distracting to have a conversation to hear it like that.
Because you're hearing the current conversation, and you're hearing the conversation of 10 seconds ago, and it's brain process.
Right, people tell me my voice sounds even deeper than when I'm in my videos.
Sounds about the same to me.
Oh, does it? Okay. Because I've gotten this weird complaint from people that I sound like multiple people when I do videos or when I'm in different things that...
Well, I mean, don't you have borderline personality disorder?
That's not multiple personalities. It's just got a weird name to it. All it means is that you're very emotional, basically. Like let's say something slightly bad happens. Okay, here's an indication of how we overreact. I was in a mall once and I saw this trench coat in the store window and I was looking for a new winter coat anyway, so I'm like, "Oh, that looks lovely." I walk in, I look at the coat and the salesperson there says, "This store is more for mature women. I don't think anything in here will suit you." And I know she was just being a bitch, so instead of handling it normally, I excused myself to the bathroom and started crying. That's not a normal way to react, and I'm aware of that.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's just that is a dick move. That's just straight up dickery. They're not looking for a sale if they're telling customers it's not an appropriate store for them to be in.
Yeah, I can agree everything else in this store was kind of old lady looking, but the coat was awesome. I don't know. They're just salespeople. Rude salespeople weird me out because you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
Your entire job is
worked-
to be nice to me.
I've worked retail, or more or less, I've worked food industry. Food industry is never. Once you've worked there, you respect the industry so much more. I'm sure it's the same with retail. I think you talked about retail before.
Yeah, I've worked retail for many years.
Yeah, not the best of places to be.
I worked as a cashier for like 5 years.
Oh, I'm sure you get the best of customers.
Well, I can't cashier anymore because I injured my wrist.
Uh-huh.
And that's kind of difficult to move cans when you have a bad wrist. And I've really messed it up. I have a lifetime 5-year weight limit on my wrist. I mean a lifetime 5-pound weight limit.
Dang, what'd you do?
I was moving freight and I just overworked it just because we were short-handed and I just overworked it. So I've damaged the cartilage, the tendons, and
Oh,
Like everything, just everything slightly damaged, so they can't do surgery or fix any of it because it'll put extra strain on other stuff.
That's always a fun thing.
So the wrist just is bad all the way through. But
That
I should start interviewing you now because set up this stream so we that our lovely viewers can learn how to LARP.
yeah, it's so easy though. Be like a 10-second interview, but I can explain at least the world. I could go in depth about the world of darkness specifically as well. So it's not just that question.
Well, yeah, like I'm sure everybody knows the basic concept of LARPs, but I know there's different like sub communities and there's different types, so I wouldn't mind going into that a bit because I know the concept of it, but I don't know too much of the details.
Absolutely. Well, as you know, my name is Gruntstar03. Hello, internet. And if you, I don't think you've watched any of my videos recently, but my friend Hunter. So feel free to call me that as well, or Grunt, whichever you prefer. And ask any questions. The worst thing I can do is say no and not tell you.
Huh. It says for the people who are watching that the sound is looping.
It's weird. I don't know why it would.
Let me check something. It's still recording and streaming, so it shouldn't be looping.
That is particularly strange.
Well, two people are watching, so I think that the looping must have stopped because I'm pretty sure they would not just constantly watch that looping.
It does irritate the ears. And hello, two watchers.
Oh, and somebody says that the looping is stopped, so that's good.
That's good. Woo, that's cold.
All right. Explain LARPing.
Well, that's a broad question. The best way to explain LARPing is we'll break it down. So LARPing is live action role play, and to be honest, the basics is just the role play part. Live action just means you show up and you may move around and actually physically do some things, but it's role playing. It's pretending to be someone you're not, and usually involves having a good time. Fires, not real fires, but in-game fires occur constantly, and just kind of depends on your setting of how it all works. If you're working as a group goal or against each other or whatever, what have you.
I've never quite understood how the points work.
I mean,
is it? I mean, I've never understood how you win, or if there's like a point system, or like what the.
Well,
I just know that it's live action
yeah.
role playing. I don't know really anything about it.
To kind of like you were talking about earlier, you wanted to talk about subcultures and subgroups, because for some LARPs there is no points or anything like that, or at least there's no quote unquote winning. There are two LARPs that I break it down into. Is there's story based LARPs, and then there's action LARPs. Live action LARPs would be like going out in armor and shields and getting those special LARP swords and beating each other with it. Like some people actually go do reenactments of battles, or do quest-based LARPs where it's actually I've seen videos of people dressed in full knight attire, and other people will be dressed as orcs, and they go out for a weekend and literally set up camps where they sell stuff and have fun and drink and party and go into physical combat and such like that with referees to make sure no one's actually getting too hurt. But bamboo swords covered in foam still leave bruises. And then there's the story-based LARPs, which is what I really play. It's kind of like more like D&D, where you are your own pawn and you're not going to actually hurt people. You're not physically doing combat. But you either roll a dice, or what we do is we play with cards. Since we're moving around so much, we we draw cards, which is like a 10-sided die. And the worlds we play in, or at least that I've played in, is the World of Darkness by White Wolf. I think they just recently sold their company though, so hopefully some of their rules will get touched up. And that includes like Vampire the Requiem and Masquerade, Werewolf the Enraged, Mage the Awakening, Changeling, Changing Breeds. So all kinds of different settings done by these people where you play characters based on that setting.
Makes sense.
For what has it been 2 years already? I think for the past 2 years I've been playing Vampire the Requiem, which is it. I find it extremely enjoyable. That is a game where you play as a vampire. Your prince is like there's a prince of the city who runs and manages the city, and then he assigns his cabinet who makes sure that the law and order stays in place, and then there's a bunch of NPCs, and the storyteller, or ST, which would be like your GM, your game master, make and has a few subplots for everyone to play with, and make sure that there's usually something to do. If all the problems are solved, then it's boring LARP. If mysteriously 3 people are dead and the FBI's showed up, and you have to hide the existence of vampires, well, now you got something to do.
So you play more of like story based rather than trying to win something.
Yes. To me, winning is if I've had a great time and if other people have had fun with a story that I've created.
It's just a little odd to me because I'm a Magic player and I'm highly competitive.
Yeah. Well, Vampire has the aspect of competitive because in Vampire the Requiem, we're all against each other in one way or another. It's a big game of backstabbing. So you make your frail alliance, and then you do a goal, and the alliance breaks up. Then you stab that guy in the back. Because the whole point of vampires is they're out for themselves. They're predators. They want to raise themselves up. Maybe they'll raise someone else along the way, but so your competitive nature would work really well because it just has to be long-term schemes rather than a short-term game, if you know what I'm saying.
It's a little bit hard for me to wrap my mind around just because I've never actually done it.
It does take a little bit, especially with the long-term scheming. I still have problems with that, but I'm getting better at it since I've been playing a little longer.
Right. And how is the combat handled?
So, because I've made one so far, I've had one combat character and one more social character. It's pretty. It's. I think it's pretty easy to understand. We base everything off of successes and then action, and drawing a 10 means you get a draw again, and you have a 10 added on. And drawing an ace means you fail. So it's kind of like the 1 in 20 on a 20-sided dice. And the combat works is one success is eight points, or however you would. I guess points is the best way to call them. You start with 8, and then every 3 is another success. And if you get 6 or more, it's an exceptional success. Like you critically succeeded.
And is that the same way it works? Because I've seen people LARP before with swords and things. Does it work the same way, or when you're using sword play, is that more of fencing rules?
In combat LARPs, as far as I understand, they work with like a 3-point victory. So like you actually hit someone in the leg, you actually hit someone in the torso, it counts towards points. While in a story-based LARP, it's more like you have dots on a character sheet, and your dots will justify your actions. So if you're a high combat character, you should have a lot of your points, like on like a D&D character sheet, a lot of your points would be in like weapons, as opposed to socially talking to people. So it depends on the LARP of how their combat system is laid out.
I actually had no idea that different LARPs had different combat strategies. Because, like I said, I've heard of it, and it's something I've thought of getting into, but I I've never done it, so I don't know too much about it other than the principles of it.
Yeah, and like I said, the medieval ones that are actual people getting an armor and stuff, and they get armor values based on the legit armor that they are wearing. So like legit chainmail is more worthy than like leather armor, and obviously more heavier. Those people do physical combat, while like when I play vampire, it's not a physical combat, though I may hold a prop sword. It's okay, I'm slashing this guy. Here are my successes. Okay, I successfully slashed him, rather than actually hitting him with my physical strength.
My brain just made fun of something. So if you're in a vampire LARP and you're wearing a corset dress, do you get extra points?
Um, in our LARP, I think it's every 6 months we actually do have a. Well, I should say this. At the end of every game, we give wolfies to whoever we think did the best. Like whether they performed the best or however. Usually, it's whoever made the game more fun, more interesting, who played their character. And at 6 months, we give wolfies, like special wolfies, to whoever did a costume, like a really good costume or shows up in costume a lot. So, for instance, like I have two things that signify I'm playing this character, and I got like two other things that signify I'm playing this other character. So that's my costume. If I had the money and the time, I could invest in actually making a full blown cosplay. Like a few of our uh, players cosplay. For instance, one of my friends, I think I was actually comparing her to you. She her one of her characters was a nun vampire, and she wore an actual nun outfit when it was when the weather permitted, because otherwise if it was too hot or too cold, it's a little hard to wear a nun outfit. So she would wear different, but she'd usually always wear the headdress when she's playing that character to signify that she's a nun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I just dress up because I'm a weirdo.
Ah, dude, dressing up is always fun. One of our other players, her character is kind of gothic and is very unfeeling, because some vampires actually are very emotional, while other characters aren't emotional. Hers isn't, so she has a more of a gothic look up, but she actually wears a wig for it, and she does really well with her own makeup, and she dresses up for the night, and then she takes it all off when we go out to eat after the game.
Makes sense, although I would probably just keep it out on for going out to eat because I like making myself a spectacle in public.
That's fine. You can always do that.
Uh, what's really funny about that is you saying you wanted to cosplay is that I actually well, my side job that I do is I make Victorian era accessories like bows and like hair fascinators and like the giant Lolita bows, as well as I make jabos for the men, like those
Okay.
that neck ruffle that the vampires make. Where I make those.
Oh, okay.
It's off topic, but it's just something that I
No,
thought about.
it's on topic because well, being the otaku nerd that I am, and since I am an otaku, I love anime. Anime is one of my biggest escapes. All of my characters are anime references. I have Krona from Soul Eater as my first character I ever made. And then I have Boxer Anarchy, which is the male version of Panty Anarchy from Panty and Stalking, as my other character. So I could easily cosplay them to a convention and then go to the game that night and play them.
I do love cosplay. I'm one of those that sews my own cosplay outfits, and I even made a plaster mask from for Ellen DeCrow from Bloodborne.
I do not,
I
because
mean
I've not
Eileen
played.
DeCrow.
I do not,
Oh,
but
it,
I'll take your word on it.
it's a little surprising that you're talking about vampire LARPs and stuff, and you've never played Bloodborne.
I know.
But do you only vampire LARP, or do you do any of the other types?
Due to just pure time, I haven't played the other ones too much. Excuse me, hold on. Due to time, I just haven't played the other ones, but I have played. I've played the mage one a little bit and made a. I think what are they called? Moros, which is like death mages. They deal with death and spirits and stuff. And I played uh, a game that we called the Change, which is taking two game concepts, the Changing Breed concept and the Changeling concept, and we kind of morphed them together. And so in that game, you change into something, like you transform, kind of like a like were creatures, like not just werewolves, because there's a werewolf game, but like were lions and were like snakes and stuff, and also like golems, and there's fairies and stuff that people also change into. I chose the ogre class, and as long as I stuck with something that's in that class, you can pretty much turn into whatever. I am basically Aaron Yeager from Attack on Titan because I turn into a Titan.
Huh, yeah. I remember when I was at the Steamposium, somebody told me something about how they've actually done Silent Hill LARPs. I
Right off there, they what?
Oh, they did Silent Hill LARPs.
Ah, see, and I've never played like stuff like that. That sounds, it does sound really cool. Like if you had a investigation mystery LARP, that's kind of like what Vampire is most of the time for us. Is that we investigate things and then go off and research it or whatever. But I've always been interested in playing uh, different game settings. Would be cool. I remember one time we did a one off. It was when the Force Awakens came out. We did a one off X. I wouldn't say X Wing, but a Star Wars LARP, and that was really fun because we didn't really get to create our characters. He had our ST had a stack of like different characters that he made and stats and stuff. We kind of got to pick from that, and it was like most of us were smugglers and bodyguards and stuff, but it was really cool to play.
I am wondering if any of the two people in the chat want to ask you any questions.
I would be I'd be glad to answer.
Does the chat want to ask anything? I know there's a bit of a delay, so I guess I have to wait till they start responding.
And I can answer questions mainly about the Vampire. The Requiem is the specific LARP that I've played, so I can tell you like details about the LARP there and classes and stuff.
So, what are the various classes? Since you brought it up, that seems like a good enough question.
So, I mean, it can be boiled down in several different ways. The two quote unquote classes I would classify the player characters as is either combat monkeys or social artists. I mean, you could be a mental person, but most people either choose to fight with their social power, so talking their way out of things, or combat monkey, so you're fully developed into actually fighting. And the way Vampire works is, at least how you start your character, is you have five clans and five covenants. The clans are like your family, your home. It kind of sets the basis for your vampire and their mannerisms. And then the covenants are political groups. There's two religious ones, two more political groups, and then there's one that's a quote unquote secret organization that you have to get like the okay to come into. And three of those, if you leave them, they will try to kill you. So,
Oh, sorry, I interrupted you a little bit. How big is the LARP group you play with?
what I play with, usually it's anywhere from, unless it's holidays where it's less, it's usually anywhere between 7 to 15 people at the location at a given time. So a fairly big size, in my opinion, for the amount of we have an ST and an ST assistant, so we can only run about 3 to 4 scenes at once before it's just mass chaos.
It seems the people in our chat already LARP, so I'm the only one who's clueless in this conversation.
What LARPs do they play? I'm gonna try to get into the chat. I'm guessing we're on
Oh,
YouTube.
so somebody does say that he's an American LARPer. So, well, this person's an American LARPer. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm scrambling it, my brain. If you're an
It's okay.
American LARPer, they've got a few questions for you. If you are.
Okay. Oh, and I wanted to bring up another type of LARP. There is one other, and I just remembered it, and that's why shame on me. There is survival LARPers where they actually go out. This is more prevalent in Europe, at least, or not around me, at least, but I've seen more prevalent in Europe. They they actually go out and go camping in a sense and like play desert survival or zombie apocalypse, quote unquote. And that's really cool to see. I've seen a few videos about how people prepare for the weekend for that because they actually have to bring their own rations. Give me just one moment. I think I'm being called.
All right. All right. While he's off, I suppose I should entertain. Um. I I wish I could interact with you, chat, better, but I actually have no clue how to LARP. That's why I invited this gentleman on. Can you guys see anything on my screen, or is it completely black? Because I don't. If it is, I don't know how to fix that. All right. I'm sorry about that. I kind of fail at setting up this screen. I was thinking it was, but I was kind of hoping I didn't fail that badly, but apparently I did. I'm gonna have to eventually talk to another YouTuber and figure out how you do these things.
All right, I am back, and any questions that they have accumulated since I've been gone?
Somebody says they play Empire, a UK based fest system?
That sounds cool.
And apparently my screen is all black. I'm like just recording sound. I found that out.
Um,
I fail at these things.
it's okay, but I should say like so. I've been talking about Vampire the Requiem, which is the local LARP. There's rule books to play it, obviously, but it's localized. And then there's Vampire the Masquerade, where you actually have to pay a membership fee, but it's I guess it's worldwide. It's more countrywide for the U.S. that we should actually worry about. But it's a bigger game. I think there's two that I know of that run that big. It's Vampire and Werewolf run that big. So there are games that are more countrywide than just local area. But I've not heard of Empire. That sounds pretty cool. Is it like is it what kind of game is it?
Um,
Get
looks like
this
we'll just have to wait for him to respond to that.
black. Nothing all black. It's fine.
Uh, I'm probably gonna take the stream down afterwards and maybe put an image up or something so that it won't be all black and then just repost it online.
Yeah. Well, what system are you using to record to go through the stream?
I'm using OBS because that's what you said I should
Cl-
use.
if you click on OBS and then you double click on your source and then like refresh the page, it should fix it.
Double click on my source.
Like your source should be like window capture for the.
Oh, my source says
For,
nothing.
oh, I'm not even sure how you're capturing the audio then.
I don't know either.
Because like on mine, I have to make a scene and then click a source for that scene to run through, and
Huh.
then
Yeah,
set
it's
things
just
to record.
simply recording the audio, I think. I don't know what I'm
Yeah,
doing.
that's okay.
I'd say I'm just a girl, but that's rather sexist, isn't it?
Oh no, no, it's the patriarchy that's keeping you down.
It's a patriarchy. Oh no, I just decided to do something I have no clue on how to do, and I'm somehow making it
Oh
work
well,
somewhat.
there's your first problem. You're a free thinker. You can't be one of those nowadays. If you're not a part of the collective, you're wrong. What were you thinking?
I don't know if you know anything about this, but like I said, I had a very long I had a very long chat about LARPing when I was at the Steamposium, but that was mostly because I had a booth there and somebody was just simply relaying information to me and I wasn't really paying attention to him too much. That's
That's
terrible
fine.
to say, but he told me about there's phone apps you can use to help you with LARPing. I was wondering if you knew anything about that.
Um, sounds like it. I think I haven't heard of many games that use an app to help you because the whole point is to be in person when you do it. It sounds a lot like the Masquerade, where it's countrywide and it envelops bigger than just the local area. So again, it kind of goes back to which LARP you're in that sets the basis, the tone, the rules, on etc. And it sounds like this Empire game is kind of like that, where you have he said player versus environment. So that's like where everyone's given a common goal to go towards. Kind of like vampire is player versus player, and you're trying to actually hurt each other. Most of the other LARPs, like the mage and werewolf, are player versus environment, and you're trying to figure out what best helps the world.
I can
Mages try to shape the fate, while werewolves kind of are eco terrorists and try to make sure Mother Gaia, which is their patron god, is happy.
I can kind of get the idea of PvP versus PvE because I used to play WoW and I always played on PvE servers just because it sucks when you're trying to level and somebody's like
Stab.
hacking you down.
Yeah. A nice thing, at least about our local LARP, since I've been in the vampire one the most, that's the one I'll talk about the most. When people get their characters to like be fully realized, and then like they become, most people find it when they become so powerful that they can just like fix a problem, like then it becomes boring to play because it's like, okay, I can just solve this problem. Next. So at that point, usually people retire their characters or something to just retire their characters so they can play a new one and have start back up from the grind.
So do you have to retire a character if you want a new character? You can't just like alternate?
Oh no. No, I have alternate characters. Like that's my problem is I have so many ideas for characters and I want to play all of them, but I just don't have the time because it's played in real life. So we play every 2 weeks, and that's real week in game real time. So you can only level so fast. So, for instance, Krona, I think I heard someone in your background talk about Soul Eater. I just got Ragnarok. Like I had a thing. We did a story for me to get that weapon, and I finally got that weapon. And now it's like, okay, I just got him back since he's been on hold for a while, and I want to play him. But I also have my other character, Boxer, who have been playing since I made Krona go absent. So now I'm conflicted. Who do I play? Because I can only earn so much XP.
I do have a question. Do you actually hear people chatting in the room with me?
I do in the background, or at least every now and then.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
That is okay.
uh, they're playing Bloodborne.
Aha! It loops back. We come full circle. But I mean, you can take the way I see it. Every character in a LARP is just another side of you. um, whether that side is hyperbolic or not. Uh, I don't know, like since I don't know everyone personally in my group, I can't say which sides are which of whomever. But it only makes sense if you make a character and you play them well. It has to be something you want. I mean, for instance, when I play Krona, who's a combat monkey, it's someone who I envision myself of being an excellent swordsman and being cool and being able to do all these things with a sword. While I have Boxer, who is a hypersexualized character who wants to have sex with everything, which represents, being a young man that I am.
How old are you,
Problems.
anyways?
I just turned 20,
Oh,
so
oh my goodness, I feel a little ridiculous now because I just turned 30.
no, don't tell me that. That ruins my fantasies. The fanfics. It's still legal though. The fanfics can happen. I'm still waiting till I get big and my friend Hunter, the Fourth Right, gets big. So people will write gay fanfics about us. As long as I'm the big spoon, I'm okay with them.
Oh
The
dear.
second I'm not the big spoon, I have to condemn every piece of literature that someone. I'm always the big spoon.
It's only gay if you're on bottom, right?
Exactly. There you go. As I've been told many a times on the internet, every hole is a goal. I'm just out to seek that goal.
Oh dear.
But who'd hear?
Yeah, I don't think most people suspect I'm as old as I am.
I wouldn't have guessed. Then again, I stopped trying to guess age nowadays. It is impossible. I've determined it is almost impossible on looks alone to tell if someone is legal of age, because you have 14-year-olds walking around with double D cups, and you got 23-year-olds walking around with A cups, and that look like they're 13. So you can't tell.
No, you need the ID before a date.
Yeah. So
What? But
flirting at conventions has become.
what is the age
Impossible.
demographic that usually are in your LARP group? Is it like all ages or around your age?
I mean, I think they accept 17 and older just because of the materials, at least in the World of Darkness. The World of Darkness is cruel. It is an actual reflection of how shitty the world can be. We've had, so far, I think since I've been in a game, we've had at least 3 babies sacrificed to some god. Um, Murders, rape has been one thing. So since the material itself is a little mature, they want mature people to play. I've never seen an incident where someone else younger than me has joined just yet. I started playing when I was 2 years ago. So I started playing when I was like about 17, 18. And as long as you could drive yourself, I don't think they've ever had a problem. They I don't think they've turned anyone away as far as I know. But I wouldn't put it past them if they particularly want someone who's 18 up, even though it's not like there's no actual sex going on, just as a maturity label.
I do wonder, how does a rape happen in a LARP? Now I'm just really curious on
Well,
this.
they don't put someone on the table and act it out. Um, it's like a pre-game event. Like I said, if you don't have problems, if there's not a problem somewhere, then it's no fun. One of the characters who's now dead was a pop star. Yes, a vampire pop star. All concerts are at night. And he was I probably need to go back and talk about the different kinds of clans and stuff because that feeds into what he was. He was a Deva, which is the sexual clan. They, use seduction to get their blood. And, not all the time does that work out in someone's favor. If you mess up a roll, if you get a botch on a roll, instead of properly seducing the woman, you end up inside the woman when she said no. So it's a scandal, and thus makes the newspaper, and thus there's a problem.
I'm glad, like, feminists don't visit my channel, otherwise they'll start saying LARPing supports rape culture.
Oh my god. You know, so I want to get into this because you said that, it reminded me of Islam, and that reminds me of the LARP. So I'm gonna quickly cover the 5 clans and covenants, and then explain why. That kind of remind me. So the 5 clans of at least Vampire the Requiem are Clan um, Ventru, Maquette, Gangrel, Nosferatu, and Deva. Ventrus think that they are the highest of society, that they're blue bloods in the vampire community, that they're royalty, and they use this kind of to dominate social situations. Maquettes are more of sneaky sneaks. They're better at research and sneaking around. At least that's kind of how they are. You don't always have to play it like that, of course, but they're meant to be more of in the background kind of people. Gangrels are more feral. They have the ability to shapeshift and turn into animals. They prefer animals over people usually. Nosferatu are like the old, like actual Nosferatu, the film. They are ugly vampires who are scary and usually use their scariness to frighten their prey so they can feed on them.
Just a quick note: somebody in the
Uh,
chat said that LARP in the UK has a huge feminist problem.
Probably, but if they have such a problem with it, they can always don their night gear and go out themselves and prove that females are the best. I have no problem with this.
But continue. Sorry, I thought I'd just interject that.
It's okay. And then Devas, this is see, it's kind of funny. He said feminists. Devas are the sexually attractive vampires. These are like the look into my eyes, aren't they hypnotic kind of vampires? And they use subduction to lure their prey in. And so those are the 5 clans, and then there are the 5 covenants are the Invictus, the Carthian movement, the Circle of the Crone, the Lankea Sanctum, and the Ordo Dracul. So the well, I just blanked a little bit. The Carthian movement kind of reminds me of Democrats. They're more liberal, and they're, of course, they're not all bad. But they believe that one vampire deserves one vote instead of the current system, which is electing officials to go represent them to make things a little less complicated. And I don't know all of they got some special shit, but they're more communist than the other groups. The Invictus are kind of old school, follow the rules to the letter of the rules. They currently hold most of the power in most of the cities. So that's why the Carthian movement is not big. Not to say that they can't own a city, but usually Invictus set up the system of rules that the Carthians then rebel against. And if the Carthians are in charge, the Carthians really don't do much because there's nothing to rebel against.
Do you
So
mind if I just interject something?
you
Communism
can
is
ask.
generally run on a dictatorship. What you were describing is more of a classic true democracy, not a republic. So it sounds more like the
Well,
system of ancient Greece.
they kind of want that, but then when they get into the power, all hail Caesar.
I okay.
So
Sorry, that was just me being nitpicky because sometimes
no,
things just like agitate my ridiculousness. I have like a ridiculous reflex.
yeah, well, it's kind of like they have the 2 opera masks. They put on one because we want this, and we this is why we want it. And then once they actually get the power, it's like, well, we're just as worse as the other guys. So, but we're in charge, so it's okay.
I took political science classes, so I'm a bit of a politics nerd. I'm sorry, that was just my politics nerd
No, that's
part,
fine.
like
I
screaming.
haven't focused on either of those covenants, so I can't tell you much about either of them because I've never been in them. I've been in the Circle of the Crone and the Lankea Sanctum, which, to be honest, to me, are some of the funnest ones because they cause the most controversy.
Oh
The
yeah?
Circle of the Crone are New Age pagans, so they pick a few pagan gods to worship, and because it's a LARP, if you do goods, you can actually get the pagan gods to do things for you. They can actually uh, come into the game For instance, one time I was asking for guidance, and Diana showed up. Only I and like two others could see Diana because we believe in her, but she showed up and gave me directions. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool, yeah.
You know, it's funny because LARPing doesn't work at all like I thought it would in my head. Because I was always imagining it would work more like a tabletop RTS, but with real people is how I've always envisioned it. But I'm a very structured person.
Yeah. And
Or is
I mean,
there
it
some
has.
that work that way?
I mean, I've never run most RPGs and LARPs I've been in. The ST or GM um, leave it up to the play. Like they set out the groundworks, but they leave it up to the player to kind of fill in the blanks. Because in our group, in our I wouldn't say society, but within our little community, we're the kind of players that will screw up a well planned out plan by the ST. You think we're gonna do this? You're wrong. We're gonna do this and this and this, and then boom.
So, like, is the way the ST works? Are they kind of like how the king works in the game Majesty, where they set off quests and bounties?
Um, I wouldn't say they always set off quests per se. They make sure in my LARPs, the ST makes sure that everyone understands what the flow is. They can set things, but my ST is personally like, I'm here to make sure the game goes. And I just want to make sure the game continues and progresses. He's told us, you all make the story. We are the characters, we are the players, we make the story as it goes along. He's just there to give us the problem to work with. So he sets up it's kind of like, wow, you are given the plane of existence to be on, but you make the story of how your character interacts with the world that is put in.
I can kind of get that. I've played a lot of MMOs.
Yeah. So that's how, at least how my ST does it. Now other STs can be more stern depending on the game. Like some D&Ds would be more streamlined, more strict with what you can and cannot do, or here's a goal, go do that goal, don't go dig around with the dirt for an hour. But other games like I play Exalted, for example. It's an RPG game where you play as the chosen of the unconquered sun. He's like the big pagan god, and he like made the it's kind of like has the mythos of Greek mythology where there's the Titans, and then the Titans made gods to manage the world and creation. And the unconquered sun was given like 20 challenges, and 20 challenges that were supposed to be impossible he conquered. So he's the unconquered sun. And you're given this magical ability, and you go out through the world. And the problem is that in this age, at least in third edition, and I think in most of the editions, this is generations from the first age of creation. The Solars, which is what you are after you've been blessed by the unconquered sun, you're frowned upon because that's what the government has said, that you're evil, and they got some justification for that. But of course, you don't think you're evil, and you're just trying to help the world free themselves from what slavery they're in. So, thus the journey ensues. The guy who runs my Exalted game pretty much has set up stuff, and we say that we want this or we want that, and usually he lets us have it, maybe at a cost, but we get it. As long as you got to work for it. You can't just like, oh, I want this. Oh, here you go. It's like you got to go on a quest to go get it. So I think it just kind of depends on whoever is leading the game.
Have you ever run across a feminist problem or anything like that in your LARP groups? I was just thinking about that because of the statement one of our people in the chat made.
In game, no. Out of game, yes. I got a lot of flack for being a Trump supporter because a few of my LARP friends are liberals, and one of I wouldn't say I hate saying the word friend, and I don't want to use the word acquaintance, but I don't know too many of them personally, so I don't want to label them as a friend. But I like them, so I think they're more than just an acquaintance. But
Associate would be a good word.
one of my gaming associates, comrades, however you'd like to say, is transgender. They are a female to male transgender. They thought, or he thought, proper pronouns, that when Trump was elected, that he would lose his human rights. Of course, I was like, "What the fuck are you smoking, man?" Because no, it's not gonna happen. It's not. Pence isn't gonna shock the gays. So calm down. And of course, they all think that because they are fed the media. But it was really funny because we had an argument about it election night, and I said that night, in 2 months, this will not matter. This conversation will not matter. Your feelings that you feel right now do not matter. And they swore to me that it would. I haven't heard a single political thing from them since. So I think I won that argument. Of course, if I bring it up, I lose it. So, but it's like, okay, like I said, it doesn't matter later on. We just have to deal with what we come across. And other than that, other than like election day, I've never had a problem with anyone else.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if like feminism has seeped too much into that particular culture because it's a little bit because I noticed that feminists are like willing to dip their toes in like some aspects of nerd culture. I guess more of the socially acceptable aspects of it, but when it goes to more of an extreme, I suppose they'd rather not.
Yeah. Well, like I said, no one's ever brought up in game. No one's ever really brought up those kinds of issues. But then again, I don't know many of them personally. We kind of all go to game, get into the gaming mindset, have fun, play our characters, and then we all go home. So only like about three of my associates I would call friends because I actually have talked to them outside the game and gotten to know them rather than just their character.
So somebody says they got into an argument in progress because, as we speak, my LARP caused by feminists, them complaining that the rules on playing ogres are sexist. Oh, because ogres need to be a certain height, which is taller than women.
Well, so why can't they be a female ogre that is that height? I mean, unless it's like an actual you have to
I think
fit
it's an
that
actual
because
rule, is
it's
what the person's saying.
well, hmm.
They don't want to be a pygmy ogre. That would be funny. Just make a new class, pygmy ogres.
Pygmy ogres. That'd
It's
be see. Wouldn't that be the solution though? Is trying to advocate. Okay, we are women. We want to play ogres, uh, but we can't because the rules say we have to be a certain height. Can we create another class so that we can play a quote unquote ogre, but fit it for women?
why.
I think that would be. I don't think that's too far out because it's not demanding that ogres change. It's saying, can we make it more acceptable for everyone in a fair way?
I'm not entirely sure why girls would want to be ogres. I mean, just saying, I wouldn't.
I mean, I understand it because see, to me, being the big burly man that I am in real life, not the fantasy of I want to be a big badass ogre that can throw rocks and crush people with my hands sounds pretty cool to me.
You know,
Um,
somebody called me ogre phobic. I might be ogre phobic, but I think I wouldn't mind playing a goblin though. I do love goblins. I have a couple goblin decks in Magic.
Now I have to say this, ogres don't really care if you're ogrophobic because ogres have layers like an onion donkey.
Oh, you actually do that pretty well. Do you do like voices and stuff when you LARP?
I do. Not all the time when I LARP, but at least outside of LARPing, I can do quite a menagerie of voices. Or when I do roleplay, it depends on the character. For Boxer, since I think my voice is really mundane, and Boxer's a high society character, or tries to be, I think he talks a little more like this, a little more cool, a little more smooth. So it just depends on the character. Um,
You sounded like a '90s
yeah,
like you know the bad boy in the '90s, the one that's trying to push the kids to do drugs in the PSAs. That's what you sound like when you do that.
yo, kids, you thought. Um, I some people gave me some flack because of how stereotypical it was, but for the change, since my guy's an ogre, and the way he came about his backstory is that all he remembers is he was in a laboratory and some people were working on him, and then he kind of got out of it, and then ended up in Nashville. Uh, and part of his costume is I had actual like leather cuffs. Uh, they may have been used for other things too, but I had cuffs, and I used one. I linked the cuffs together and put on one wrist and walked around, and I gave him a Russian accent. Yes,
That's actually the only accent I'm overtly good at is not Russian so much, but I used to hang out with these girls from Moldova, and people would stop them and say, "You know, I really like Russian girls," and be like, "I'm not Russian. I'm from Moldova."
but all white people are the same to me. I saw the laser dragon. I did see that.
No, I hung out with these girls from Moldova enough that I could actually talk with the Moldovan accent, and people would think I was also from the Moldova, and they got a kick out of it. They weren't offended at all. That's how I practiced my Moldovan accent, is they thought it was funny when I tried to do that. Like Eastern
I've never.
Europeans are awesome.
Yeah, I've never found a person, at least to me in the real lives, that actually got hashtag triggered with like an accent. Like I've talked to, I'll usually dick with people because men dick with people. Um, if I know someone's British, like I can tell the difference between a British accent and Australian. I'll call them an Australian just to dick with them because I know they hate it.
The only two accents I really can't tell the differences is, have you noticed people from South Africa and a British accent are almost impossible to tell apart depending on what part of South Africa they're from?
I have not because I have not met anyone. I have actually, which is cool. I've met actual African Americans in the food industry, and I've met people from Kenya, people from Zimbabwe, and they have very cool accents. They take a little bit to talk in English, but they have a, a culture behind them that kind of morphed as it went along. It's a weird voice, but I like meeting people from different countries because I get that vibe, which is really cool.
Oh man, that makes me think of I knew this girl was black, right? She was black, but she hated people from Africa. Like I don't know if there's this a trend of like black Americans not liking black Africans. I don't know what that's all about, but there's this dude who had a crush on her who was straight from Africa, and her friend was trying to talk her into dating him, and I was there too, and she's like, "I don't want to date no African. You wake up in the middle of the night and there's shrunken heads all over your apartment," and I'm like, "I can't believe you just said that." I'm like, "Oh, you're lucky you're
Only-
black. I
only
would
if they
never
do
be able to
voodoo.
get away with saying that."
A Yorkish accent. Isn't a Yorkish accent sounds like you got a cock in your mouth? Sorry, I see one of the
We're
comments.
way off topic now, you know that.
Yeah, oh, this tangent went on for a while. I think I was explaining the covenants when we last started.
I'm sorry, chat. I'm
It's
sorry.
it's fine. It's fine. Nothing's blown up.
I need to
Yes.
I'll probably need to delete this live stream later because with what I just said just there, if I become a bigger YouTuber, somebody will quote mine me.
Oh man, dude, I've been told like someone's going to go back in some of my earlier videos like you said this, and I'm like, and your point? Are you offended? That sounds like a personal problem. I mean, like saying words in context and out of context. If it's in context, then it's not a bad word. Like people think hell is a bad word, but if I say like you I wish you go to hell is using it as a bad word. If you're talking about it, if you're a Christian and you're talking about okay, hell is a place, it's a noun, so it's not bad to say it.
Did you go through all the covenants yet? Because I wouldn't mind like.
No,
Okay.
I think I stopped on the pagan one, which is the circle of the crone, and how their gods can actually come into game. Um, the other religious covenant is the Linkea Sanctum, and see the cool thing about them is the only stipulation to join the Linkea Sanctum is you have to worship one of the Abrahamic religions. So you could be a Jew, you could be a Christian, or a Muslim. Of course, in this high political climate, I've yet to see a Muslim. I don't. I don't really think there's a Jew either. Well, actually, I think the Doctor Reverend might be a Jew. Not sure, but mainly Christians, and of course, they can instead of the pagans can use magic, rituals, and stuff, while the Lankea Sanctum does quote unquote miracles. It's also magic called Thebian, and so they can like pray to God, and then God can actually do things just like any other god. So it's kind of neat. Um,
So
I
it's a little bit
remember,
like white mage-ish.
yeah. Um, one of the characters, Sister Rose, the nun I was talking about earlier, she actually turned into a living saint for a scene because she sacrificed herself and she martyred herself, and the player said she didn't want Sister Rose to die just yet, so they did a martyr scene where she actually came back into her body and like, whoo. So it was cool. And then like, so just uh, brain function stop for a second there. So Linkea Sanctum is really cool in that way because they can actually they believe in God, which is like, oh, but I thought vampires are atheists. Some are, some aren't.
I know there's some mythology around vampires saying that they're like basically empty shells of human vessels.
I mean, kind of like what I was. The covenants help with their beliefs, and like um the Lankea Sanctum think that they've been damned and they have been given this curse of vampiricism to promote God, to test humans and their faith in God, to not sin. Which it's kind of hard to not sin when a vampire uses vampire magic and guru on you to actually force you to do things. Like I was saying, the Ventrus can use dominate. They can actually make people do things. So, you know, when you're a judge and like you can make your accusee sin in front of you, and like, well, you just sinned, so I can kill you because you just upset God. It's a hard system to beat. Um, so Lankeas are kind of dicks, but they're lovable dicks. And then finally, there's the secret order of the Order of Dracul, and their belief system is science, and they believe that not only can are they awesome vampires, they can become better than God and be improve upon the vampiric condition. Is their goals and
Are they kind of
ideology?
like alchemists then, or
Yeah,
no?
yeah. No, they're pretty much alchemists. They want to improve their own bodies to become more than a vampire. Is their like goal? And I mean, even religious people can join the Ordo, as far as I know. Like someone who is religious can join the Ordo, but usually they won't be public about being in both an Ordo and a like a religious covenant.
That sounds like something I would do just to be a contradiction.
Well, there was a character who said that they were without a covenant. Like you can be Um, what the fuck do we call those? Shit, we have a name for them. Unaligned. If there's an unaligned vampire, they're actually kind of looked down upon. We'd rather you pick a side than say that you're freelance. And some of the Ordo will say that they're unaligned when they're secretly not, which pisses people off. Once they can find out, because like, you bastard, you've got backing. Don't fucking lie to us. But I mean, it's a quote unquote secret organization, so not everyone's public about that.
How does that work though in a game? Like, do you guys have your stats on paper, or how does?
Yeah, so we have a character.
I'm trying to like picture how this all actually works in reality.
So we have a character sheet, and currently our character sheet's like gone through a transformation just to help our ST. But the basics are always the same. So you have your mental traits, your physical traits, and your social traits, and then you every starting character puts points into those, and then you have like abilities and merits and such. Like abilities would be, for instance, brawl. Like your brawl skill is an ability or a side trait, while your actual raw strength is one of your major abilities. Dex, strength, and stamina are like the physical attributes, and like manipulation. I wish I had a character sheet so I could just read it off, but so you have your base stats, and then you can build upon those, and then you spend like points. You spend XP that you get through playing the game to, further your character to upgrade them. And the way we get XP is either there's several ways to get XP. First is that you have what the hell do we call them? It's escaped my mind. I'm going to remember in a second. But we have aspirations. That's what they're called. We can have up to 6 aspirations, which is like aspirations are like what you want to do with your character, such as, okay, I want this character to own a bar. I want them to become higher up in vampire society. I want them to, kill someone. But you can't just be anyone. That's easy. Like, I want to kill this news anchor for this purpose. Yada yada yada. And as long as you work towards those goals, you get XP. Especially the higher ones that take longer, kind of build you a little bit. The shorter ones, once you actually accomplish them, you get XP. And then the other way to get XP is Wolfies, where you get people can give you XP points if they thought you did a great job that night, or if your character played a pivotal role in tonight. Like if, for instance, Krona, who's my main character, saves someone from literally getting shot or something, I could get some XP, especially if I play it off really cool. And then the other way is taking beats. I want to let you interject if you want to interject real quick.
I don't, like I said, I don't know anything about LARPing, so I was just letting you explain things.
All right. Beats are when you fail, and if you say, either you want to check if it's critical failure, or do you want to take the beat, which is like, we'll give you a 1/5 of an XP point if you want to critically fuck this up. Which, of course, leads to some of the greatest story ever. All the time.
So,
Yo.
I was just still trying to figure out the whole concept of story LARPing, but since I've never done it, like I said, my brain just doesn't wrap around the concept, but hopefully the viewers get a little bit more out of this than I am.
Since Paige just asked, ooh, by the way, I love the Kanaya icon you have there. Someone just asked do we play with dice? We personally play with cards when we're doing LARPing in my LARPs, because it's a lot easier to walk around with and actually pull a card rather than roll the dice, because we have to, have a flat surface to do that. So it's a lot easier if we walk outside, for instance, because some of our scenes take place outside when the weather's not terrible. And it's like, okay, you have a base. Like let's say, for instance, my character Krona, who's a sword. The whole point is he's a sword master. Uh, his pull is his dex and his swordsmanship skill, and plus I have a specialty in swords, so that's a +1. And my base pull, so what I'm starting from, is an 8, or I think it's 10. So I already start with a success, and then I pull a card to see what I add on to that, and that's like, okay, so you got 8 plus 5, which is 2 8 plus 5, or sorry, 10 plus 5, 15. That is 3 successes, so I did pretty well. And if the enemy gets less than that, then I do my action. Like if their action was to dodge and they got 4 successes, then they got out of the way. If I, for instance, had a pull of 10 and I got a 10 and then a 9, so I add 19, that's now 29, I critically succeeded, and I do something additionally. So I do my action and then something really cool happens. So, but I'm going to do this, this, and this because I want to make it show off. And then if I critically succeed, not only do I cut him, I could get some blood back, or I really critically hurt him. Instead of just doing some cutting damage, I might have just decapitated him.
I have a question. What kind of cards
So
do
that's
you
the
use?
cool
Do you
thing.
just use like a deck of playing cards, or do you have
Fucking lost
special?
that damn. I'm talking about Vampire the Requiem for Gunner here. If he wants to know what's going on to kind of catch up.
Do you have special cards for the game, or do you just use playing cards?
Like I said, most of our stuff is we roll or we draw cards based on what stats we have, but it's more about after you build your character, it's like, what do you want this character to do, and then you can build it towards that, so it's better at doing that. And you're not always going to succeed because failure's half the fun. I remember one of our oh my god, one of my friends who plays, he had a Viking character, and his one of his banes, which is like a vampire's actual weakness, was anytime he got a failure, it was automatically a critical failure. So if he fucked up, he not just fucked up, he fucked up hard. So it's like, he runs into the room, make a stealth check, critical fail. Everyone in the room sees you, and everyone 2 miles away has heard you crash into this room. Have fun.
Are you able to hear me okay? Because I've asked a few questions. Are you still able to hear me okay?
So, that's the basics of... LARPing is just pretty much just like tabletop, except you actually move around a little more.
Are you able to hear me?
Did I lose you?
I think so. I don't think you can hear me. Let me... Can you hear me now?
I can. Hello.
Hi, I actually asked a few questions and I then realized that you probably were not hearing me.
I was not, and I do apologize.
My question was, what kind of cards do you use? Do you just use regular playing cards, or do you have special cards designed for the game?
Just regular playing cards. There are, I think they do sell White Wolf cards, but any set of 10 playing cards works. Usually people use Ace through 10. I've been known to use Jack instead of a 10 to represent my 10, but yeah, we just use regular playing cards.
So it looks like someone in the chat said it's very different than European LARP because it's more like reenactment in a fantasy setting.
Well, yeah, like I've noticed that a few European LARPs can do more because of the locations they're in. Um, like I've seen a German LARP where it's like a survivalistic LARP, like trying to think of the setting where it's kind of a reenactment. I think it's like Mad Max setting where they'll actually go out in the forest or the desert somewhere and actually, go camping and stuff, kind of like a Renaissance fair, except more modernistic, like a sort of like apocalypse LARPs. That's what they're called, where they actually pretend like it's the apocalypse. So you have your food, you have your clothes, you have um, like I've seen this guy. He has like a big bag of his water, his food, extra socks, sleeping bag, his camping gear, his um, little pot thing that he can cook water or cook things in and eat out of, and it comes with a little fork. And like he's got a special water bottle that he uses when he uses the restroom to kind of clean up, baby wipes, all that stuff,
So
and trash bag.
so if it's an apocalypse LARP, can someone play the devil?
Perhaps, but you could play a character that goes around and dicks with people and steals their food. I think there's like water stations that people can go to, but or medical stations as well in case you actually get hurt. But the guy I was watching said, it's best to have some kind of actual like light medical kits, like a band-aid or light gauze in case you scrape yourself or something, disinfectant just on hand. But because at least around me, the closest like LARPs that do apocalypse play are all a state away and like 4 hours of a drive. And I don't really want to drive 4 hours to meet people I don't know to do this.
Yeah, I know I'm actually part of a LARPing group on Facebook. I've just never actually joined them.
Terrible.
Well, they invited me at the Steamposium, and I just said, okay, I'll join your group.
And never go.
Yeah, I see when they post events, but I've never actually gone.
Well, I've always found it fun. I think I saw on your Twitter that you live in Alaska.
I do, yeah.
So I don't know what kind of LARPs are up there. You could probably find both storytelling and more live action.
They told me they do vampire LARPs, and they also do a Silent Hill LARP.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I would definitely give them a shot if you got the time.
Yeah,
see what it's all about.
I know the Silent Hill LARP from what it was explained to me. Like I said, I've never actually played, so I might be butchering the explanation, but this is what I got from what they explained to me is the Silent Hill LARP goes along with a app you can put on your phone, and it'll actually have the siren go on for when the world changes.
Huh. It's kind of neat.
That's what they told me.
I've never. It'd be worth giving a shot at least.
That's what I was told at the Steamposium. They might have been lying to me because I'm a huge Silent Hill fan, and I think they might just be trying to, like, make me play with them.
That'd be it. If I was a big Silent Hill fan, one of the characters that could definitely work in the World of Darkness LARPs, like the vampire, is you could be Pyramid Head. Easily. Or a nurse.
That's the only characters people know are from 2. My favorite Silent Hill, personally, is 4. 4 is my favorite. I could be Walter.
I know the Human Centipede thing. I've never played Silent Hill, so that would be my problem.
I've played Silent Hill 1, 2, 3, 4, Shattered Memories, Origin, Homecoming, and Downpour.
You know what I made? I just made a mistake. Because I thought it would be an acceptable thing to go onto Tumblr for just a second. And then, of course, I have to see something that I want to smash my computer for.
I've never been on Tumblr.
You are blessed, my child. I literally go on and I see the first thing I see is love, not race, not age, not religion,
I
and
think.
the representation they used for age is 10 and 36.
Ugh.
So I'm just gonna click off of Tumblr now and go bleach my eyeballs.
I think we're going off topic
Even though,
again.
bye Seth. Yep, we should. Okay, before we go back on topic, I gotta say the best cosplay I've seen from Silent Hill is the Silent Hill Pyramid Head, but instead of a regular smock, he had a Home Depot smock.
Entertaining.
Yes.
If you have it, like, we've been going on for about an hour and a half. I do kind of feel sorry for the people watching my live stream, so maybe we should wrap it up soon.
I mean, live streams last what, an hour, 2 hours, somewhere around there. So, I mean, I'm open to questions. I know a lot about the World of Darkness, the Vampire the Requiem LARP specifically, but I've kind of played Mage the Awakening and Werewolf the Enraged once. Actually, I played that one twice. So I can answer a few questions about that if anyone has any. That's just my local LARPs that I go to almost every other Saturday. And then after our LARPs, we go to Chewy's and eat delicious.
Where are you? I don't, you know where I am, but I don't know where you are.
See, I've been trying to keep that off the internet because people's
Okay.
trying to.
Okay, never mind. I was just curious
I
because of
live, I live in the South, if that helps. I know I don't have a Southern, I don't have no Southern accent, but I live in the South. Uh, I think Hunter has said it in one of my videos where we live. I'm not sure, but I don't want to state bomb myself. Do I have? I don't think I have it on my Twitter either. It's just because the whole doxing thing's a thing. Until I was gonna do like a 100 subscriber reveal for some of that stuff. I don't know.
I'm actually indifferent if I get doxxed. What are they gonna
I
do?
mean,
Fire me from my non-existent job?
yeah, there you go. Well, I have plans of joining the military, so then again, probably won't get fired from the military for saying that Trump was better than Hillary. So
Is anyone in the chat have any questions?
I will say that in our vampire LARP, we don't actually bite people on the neck.
Well, you see, now that makes me not interested in joining you guys.
Well, I could bite you on the neck, but some people might not like that fact.
Oh dear.
Mainly my girlfriend. She would probably be rather upset.
Yeah, I was just trolling, dude.
The cool thing is, at least in the vampire LARP, um, vampires don't have to bite the neck to get blood. We can technically bite anywhere on the body and start getting blood. And in the LARP, there's the thing called the kiss. So if a vampire bites someone, they become like under the sense of pleasure, like just odd pleasure, and they just kind of forget the moment. So once a vampire actually bites someone and leaves, they kind of forget the past few, like a minute before that time they actually got bit, and like they don't remember what happened while they were bit.
So
So
when you were talking about the cards earlier, so you use cards to decide the outcome of actions?
yes, so it's like rolling the dice. We're told to, for instance, observation is like or a common role we get is resolve composure. Like, okay, we just saw something really fucked up. How does your character react? Do they reek back in grotesque, or they're like, yeah, that's normal shit. We just saw someone get run over. Yeah, that's okay. So it's like, okay, you take your resolve stat, which is X amount of dots. You take your composure stat, which is X amount of dots, and then you pull from your hand. Um, and your goal is to hit 8. As long as your total is 8 or more, whether it's from both your dots and your pull, just your dots, and then the bull just adds more. Um, Usually it's like your dots plus your pull, and depending on how high your dots are on your character sheet is how less of a number you need from the card pull. um, is how you determine if you get a success. And the way we do our successes are 8, and then every 3 up from 8 is another success. So 8, 11, 14, 17, and then 20. And then after 20 is is like an extraordinary success. So not only would you not shriek back in horror, you're completely fine with the situation. And because you're completely fine with the situation, you actually get a humanity back or something like that. Uh, Probably not that significant because humanity is actually a big thing in Vampire, but you would get something extra that the ST would decide. Like you get something more if you get a critical success. Yeah, how long have I been recording for? I've been recording for an hour and 22 minutes.
Yeah. Huh? I'm wondering.
So many things off topic.
Yeah, I'm wondering what to do with this live stream. Should I just like take it and edit it down, maybe add an image? Because I think it's kind of very off topic. Then maybe re-upload it later.
I
I'm
mean,
just
you
wondering
could
what to
keep it
do
that
with it.
way, and I could try to edit out all the off tangent stuff. Is always the juicy bits. It's always the fun part.
So you think I should just leave the live stream up as it is?
Yeah, I mean, you already got 2 likes, so unless someone magically pulls a, well, that was bad. I mean, we could always do this again after you get some actual accumulative, like an accumulation of questions. We could go back and like live stream and read comments if you want.
We could. I could
People,
just leave this up, and I'm just really afraid of that comment I made about the girl I knew who was that's the only thing. I just don't know if I want people to quote mine me from something quite that incriminating.
all is fine. What's the worst that could happen?
They'll call me a racist.
Oh, my feelings. Oh, oh, they called me a racist.
Hey, I have BPD. I feel more than others. I feel.
I feels.
I feels. I have the mental illness that gives me feels.
All you have to do is play that video from TJ. I'm sorry that I'm white.
Oh yeah.
He's blogging himself. You don't have to put the "I'm sorry that I'm male" because I don't think you're one of those.
You know what's really funny though is like I'm very indifferent to internet stuff. Like in person, I am like the biggest wimp ever. Like you say something mean to me, and I like go into the other room and cry. But people can call me the worst things online, and I'm like, whatever.
Is that real aspect? It's like I've had friends who have anxiety problems, and I've learned the 5 senses technique to help people out of anxiety attacks. And it's a lot better if you do that in person rather than over the phone.
Oh no! Trust me, dude. I've been in. I know all the techniques and whatnots. I'm just saying it's, just letting people know online that even though I like am out and open with that, I don't care if I get hate mail. I don't care if people like try and challenge me because it's words and it's text. And I'm like, it just sort of like makes it so I'm rather indifferent to it. I'm like, okay.
I've yet to get a hate comment. I got one random dislike on an update video, which I'm pretty sure is because I spouted some political stuff in that one update video. But I've yet to actually have like a hate comment like "You suck, go kill yourself" or "Hey, fuck you, you're a piece of shit."
You know, I've been waiting to be called a racist, a sexist, a homophobe, and to have internalized misogyny. I get that a lot on Twitter, but so far I've yet to get that on YouTube.
Well, the weird thing is, especially since you just mentioned Twitter, and then since we're already in this tangent, I actually did a video with Riley, and I've asked Riley like 4 questions before he blocked me, and then Steve Shives didn't block me until I commemorated him and like, you're not as bad as everyone says you are, so thank you for not blocking me. And then he blocks me.
That's
And then
hilarious.
Milo Stewart, I thought would like freaking screech at me, did not, and like just said, because I said, does Milo have the puss as a Undertale joke, and all he said was, that's none of your concern. And I was like, okay, at least he didn't, and he still hasn't blocked me, so I'm like, oh, okay, maybe Milo isn't such a cuck, a little figgot.
Well, that's all the Twitter hate I've gotten I deserve because I use my Twitter for trolling.
I mean, I use my Twitter. I kind of like my YouTube channel. I put whatever I want on Twitter. It's more of a outreach to talk to people, like you or anyone else that on YouTube that I really like. I've gotten to talk to what's his name? He was featured on Sick the other Monday. It's that Albister, the Indian guy. If you've heard him,
Maybe.
he's really cool, and I think he's extremely funny. I'm still waiting to talk to him again. Maybe do a live stream like this. And the first thing I'm probably gonna ask him is, do you mind if I do an Indian accent? And then if he says okay, I'm gonna say, so if you ever met Anita Sarkeesian in real life, would you say, by the God Ishnu, I will kill you?
Ugh.
That's cultural appropriation. The tangents of LARPing. Oh, I didn't get flack, but I like from Indian, and he died. And when vampires die, they turn into dust. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And the ST said he died, and a little kind of his dust kind of bruises in the air. And I said, so does it smell like curry? And everyone just kind of looked at me like, Scott, you just crossed the line. Like, what? It's an honest question. He was Indian.
Oh, that's terrible.
And everyone's like, what the hell, man? And I was like, well, what? What's the harm? Just does it smell like curry? I would even say out of character, I would say, thank you, come again. And he's like, are you saying that in character? I'm like, oh, hell no, I'm not saying that in character. He'd beat the shit out of me.
Oh dear. You see, I don't know. I just think stuff like that's a little bit of bad form. It's funny, and it's just like one of those things where you're like, that's terrible. Like I can see.
I mean, slapstick humor and black comedy are like, to me, and dry humor are like some of the funniest things.
No.
And of course,
I'm really weird because I love it when other people say very offensive jokes, but I have a hard time myself. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I just have to like I don't care, to be honest. Like if it like Ben Shapiro said, I care about the facts, not your feelings. Yeah, I don't mean to hurt someone's feelings directly because I don't want to go to someone and specifically say a racist joke to them. Like do a black stereotype joke to specifically a black person, trying to infer that they are this stereotype, because that I find that rude, of course. But just doing a joke about black people is not fucking forbidden, or white people.
I'll actually I know a few racist jokes and such, and they are fun to recite. But I don't know. I like being polite. I don't know if you've noticed that with my videos. I'm quite polite.
You are quite polite, and at least a lot of people that I've seen, all the anti-SJWs, anti-feminists, most of those people try to focus on the argument rather than the person that's attached to that argument. It's not going around and saying that this person's a faggot or this person's ugly or this person's, a fat piece of shit. It's like, okay, you have this opinion. I disagree with it. And here are the facts of why you're wrong. Not pushing the fact that, I think you're bad, stupid, ugly. I've heard people say you're stupid for thinking this, and I don't think that's a terrible thing to say. But, usually people on the non-feminist side don't shame people or don't go out and call people names and shit or try to shame them down out of things because it's like, oh, you're fat, oh, you're ugly. No one that I have seen, except maybe once or twice, have ever done that. And usually, if anyone has done you're a sack of shit to a person, it's the only time I've seen that is when it's a pedophile,
You
when
know,
someone's
we're really
degrading.
off topic, and we're just like still streaming, and I think that's a little unfair to my viewers. So I think we should probably, like, you can keep talking to me if you'd like, but we should probably
Yeah.
end streaming.
Okay.
Because I
Fair
don't.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not talking about LARP no more.
Yeah, we're not talking
And
about. We haven't been talking about LARP for a while now, so I should probably just stop streaming. All right. What a terrible
Shame
way to
stream.
end a live stream. Just bye.
Nah.